tagumpay ng magulang para sa mga batang manonood.
Taliwas ang resulta ng Pulse Asia Survey sa naunang SWS Survey kung saan bumagsak ng 18 puntos ang approval ratings ni Digong. Parehong isinagawa ang mga ito noong Setyembre, ilang araw lang matapos ang National Day of Protest, pagkakapatay kina Kian de los Santos at Reynaldo de Guzman at Senate hearing sa katiwalian sa Bureau of Customs kung saan nadawit ang anak at manugang ng Pangulo. Para kay Senador Tito Soto, mas credible ang Pulse Asia Survey. Diretso lang daw kasi ang paglalatag ng numero, hindi katulad ng net style na nakakalinlang umano.
The new Pulse Asia survey shows President Duterte still enjoying high approval and trust ratings as the administration faces a number of issues. Data show 80% or 8 out of 10 respondents say they approve of the Duterte presidency. Only 7% say otherwise, 13% are undecided. The President also managed to retain his majority trust rating, also at 80%. Pulse Asia says the numbers remain virtually constant since June. This latest survey was conducted from September 24 to 30 among 1,200 respondents nationwide. Malacanang is pleased with the news of President Duterte's high approval and trust ratings. Presidential spokesman Ernie Abella says the results prove that the public is not easily swayed by political noise. Abella points out the survey was even conducted at a time when what he says was a demolition job against the president and his family was in place.
There seems to be time, or whoever it's coming from. There seems to be some form of orchestrated information, disinformation that is in operation.
Abella says he'd rather not speculate on who may be behind the demolition job, but he says it's clear that they are out to discredit the president. Lawmakers are also weighing in on the ratings.
I have no doubt that the president can bounce back. I think maging klaro pa yung ninanais niya sa ating pamahalaan.
For Senate President Coco Pimentel, he says the results are accurate. Senator Sani Angara says public sentiment changes from time to time, just like what happened to other presidents. Senator Ping Lacson, meanwhile, pointed out the difference in the results of this Pulse Asia survey and another poll released early this week. A social weather station survey on Monday showed fewer Filipinos are satisfied with the president's performance. That survey was conducted from September 23 to 27. Now, how do Filipinos rate the performance of other top government officials? Here are the results from the latest social weather station survey. Data show Vice President Leni Robredo's net satisfaction rating stayed good at plus 41. That's up by 5 points since June this year. Senate President Coco Pimentel's rating also stayed good at a personal record high of plus 46 in September. This surpassed his previous record of plus 37 in the same period last year. Robredo welcomes the results of the survey. She says this could mean people are beginning to see the positive things she's done through different programs. Among those, her anti-poverty advocacy program called Angat Buhay.
Happy with the rise. Gustong sabihin, nararamdaman ng tao yung ating ginagawa. Gustong sabihin, parang accepted ng tao yung kabutihan na ginagawa natin despite the very limited resources. Malaking bagay din na nararamdaman na kasi lalong nagbibigay ito sa amin ng lakas at inspirasyon na lalong pagbutihin, lalong palawakin yung aming ginagawa.
For House Speaker Bebot Alvarez, his rating fell from moderate to neutral at a personal record low of plus 8. Same thing goes for Chief Justice Marilourdes Sereno, whose rating also fell to neutral at plus 9. This is her lowest net satisfaction rating score since December 2015. 2 days after she failed in her bid to nullify her arrest, Senator Laila de Lima shows up at a regional trial court for arraignment on another drug charge. There, she didn't hide her frustration over the High Court's decision to junk her plea. Our Anjo Alimayo tells us more.
A visibly thinner Senator Laila de Lima arrived at the Muntinlupa Regional Trial Court. She's been in detention for 8 months now. And she may stay there longer after the Supreme Court denied her bid to void her arrest.
Nakakalungkot lang na tila baga nagbubulag-bulagan ng mayoriya ng Supreme Court na panggigipit lang ito sa akin.
She's pertaining to the 9 justices who turned down her petition for lack of merit and upheld the jurisdiction of the lower court to hear her drug cases. De Lima says it's ironic that international organizations clearly see that the cases filed against her are all but part of political persecution.
Pinaka-importante, hindi ako hindi ko na tutupad ng maayos yung aking tungkulin bilang senador.
As far as her lawyers are concerned, the fight isn't over.
Hihingin ulit namin yung Korte Suprema ay mabigyan ng second hard look yung kanilang desisyon.
Former Senator Rene Saguisag also hopes that at least 2 justices will join the minority to overturn the decision.
Kung si Laila, after winning, tumahimik o sumali doon sa partido Hunyango, hindi siya ngayon nakakulong ngayon eh.
The prosecution panel welcomes the High Court's decision.
We are also happy that the evidence which would support the allegation in the information on that particular case were sustained by the Supreme Court. The finding of probable cause remains.
However, De Lima's arraignment at Branch 205 was postponed because of her pending appeals. This after Judge Amelia Fabros Corpus denied her second motion to quash and motion to attend a Senate hearing on Kian de los Santos' death. Former Senator Rene Saguisag says De Lima's real crime is being critical of President Duterte on human rights issues, but is confident De Lima will be on the right side of history. Anjoli Mario, CNN Philippines.
PNP Chief Ronald Bato de la Rosa says he accepts President Duterte's decision to take the anti-drug campaign off their hands. Speaking to CNN Philippines, de la Rosa adds he cannot help but feel sad over the decision, but he considers this development a positive step.
Policemen ko man o yung mga drug personalities, still buhay pa rin ng tao yun. So, kuhan ba, yung, anyway, I just look at it positively, yung executive order na yun. Sabi siguro ni Presidente, masyado ka ng pagod anak, pahinga ka na. Ito, hindi natin magpaplastikan.
Sure.
Frustrated si Presidente sa naging reaksyon ng taong bayan. It goes to show na si Presidente hindi diktador. Na nakiramdam siya sa pulso ng taong bayan. Kung totoo man yun, granting na talagang totoong sentimento ng general public yung lumabas sa survey, sabi ni Presidente din, I am working for the Filipino people. So, ano yung gusto ng taong bayan, dissatisfied sila sa war on drugs, hinto natin itong war on drugs.
Catch the full interview with the PNP chief tonight on The Source at 7:30. Well, now that President Duterte has removed the national police and the helm of the drug war, the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency is facing a tall order. Is PDEA ready for this? Our Camille Abadisho finds out.
The Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency is stepping up its operations after taking over the lead in the war on drugs. The agency admits the task is not easy, especially with lack of manpower.
It will leave a big vacuum, especially on street-level operations. So unlike before, when PDEA used to focus only on high-value targets and high-impact operations, this time we will have to fill in the gap where the PNP left off.
The PNP has about 195,000 personnel, in stark contrast to PDEA's almost 2,000 personnel nationwide.
Malaki talaga ang contribution ng PNP because they have the numbers. They have the presence all the way up to the municipalities. And definitely, yung presensya nila, nandun, natutugunan nila kagad yung street-level pushing.
PDEA is planning to recruit 1,000 to 1,500 agents every year to fill in the gap. But this means additional budget, as training will cost 200,000 pesos per agent or 300 million for 1,500 agents. PDEA's budget is at 1.4 billion pesos plus 934.5 million pesos for additional facilities, equipment and manpower for 2018. But with their new role, PDEA says they would need more funds.
Kulang na kulang talaga. Dahil nga po, this was based on the premise that PDEA will focus on high-value targets and conducting high-impact operations.
While transitioning to a much bigger task, they would seek assistance from the PNP.
Mas konti na nga po kami. If we deploy on the ground and then we are doing the actual anti-drug operation and then hostile forces start firing on us and we get pinned down, who will help us?
We're ready to provide support to the PDEA, whether it's coming from the national down to the municipal level. When they need our support, we are working for the same government. So we will not deny them any of the assistance that we can provide them.
With over 76,000 anti-drug operations, the police produced 90% of the results of the drug war from July 2016 to September 2017. But the relentless campaign has a price. Over 3,000 drug suspects dead in police operations, while PIDEA agents killed only 28 suspects. Camille Abadisho, CNN Philippines.
The reason for President Rodrigo Duterte's recent outburst against the European Union is speaking up. The so-called Progressive Alliance claims it is a group composed of more than 100 social democratic political parties and organizations all over the world. In a statement, Progressive Alliance says they are alarmed at the mounting cases of killings under President Duterte's war on drugs. The alliance adds they witnessed a war between social classes and political opposition and not a war against illegal drugs. Progressive Alliance adds they will keep a close eye on developments in the country and will take appropriate initiatives if necessary. Palace officials are clearing the air a day after President Duterte issues strong words against the European Union. They say there is no directive for the EU delegation to exit the country. Our senior correspondent Ina Andolong tells us more.
He cursed at the European Union.
My God, do it, stupid. Do it now. Paano sabihin sa Espanyol? You go.
And told its ambassadors to leave.
You leave my country in 24 hours. All of you.
But he was barking at the wrong tree. A day after the president's tirades against the EU, his spokesman clarifies his boss was addressing himself to the international delegates of the Progressive Alliance, not the EU, which the president thought was threatening to have the Philippines expelled from the United Nations because of the killings in its drug war. The 7-member delegation, which Malacanang says falsely claimed to represent the EU, called for an end to the killings and said the Philippines may risk losing the tax-free status of many of its products entering Europe. Ernesto Abella also blamed the media for causing the confusion. Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez says he too saw something wrong with the reports that came out.
Basically, he was reacting to what he was reading. Okay. He was reacting to what he was reading. So it's not a question of being misinformed. That means that he was being fed wrong information. But based on
kung ano yung nasa news. Frankly, kami rin eh. Ako when I saw that, but ito na naman to. Sino to? Kasi when we talk to the guys in the EU, hindi naman ganyan yung dating nila, yung approach nila eh. Parang tingin ko nga, somebody asked them to come over at manggalit eh.
For now, Malacanang is just taking back the president's directive, telling EU diplomats to leave.
there is no directive to do that.
As far as palace officials are concerned, all is well between the Philippines and the EU. The Trade Secretary met with EU officials last September to address any perception that may have been caused by negative publicity.
Kasi ano ba yung nare-release sa international media? De syempre, kung may balitang nanggaling dito, lalo na at that time, naalala ko, at the height of yung mga teenagers na mga namatay. So we were telling them na may mga ganong incidents na unfortunately nangyari, but our president, number one, we assured them na ang presidente natin ayaw talaga ng mga abuso na ganon.
The president has been made aware of the mistake, but no apology, at least for now. But Abella says a clarification from the president himself may be forthcoming. Ina Andolong, CNN Philippines.
Kagabi, nakinig pala yung mga ambassadors. Text kaagad. They are not part of the EU. Bakit hindi ka nagsabi? You kept your silence while they were yakking here. Sabi ko, tama yun. Tama yung ginawa ko. Tinakot pa ako na tanggalin tayo sa United Nations. Kaligaya ko doon lang. Ano mga nakuha natin sa United Nations? Wala. You know, even to expel a member would eventually, that issue will go to the Security Council. There are 5 voting members dyan. United States, Britain, France, Russia, pati China. Isang boto lang na ayaw. Wala yang, and do you think China and Russia will vote for the expulsion?
Intense firefights were observed in Marawi City Friday morning as troops continued to flush out the remnants of the ISIS-inspired Mata group in the city. The local government asks authorities to do its best to ensure that no more Mata fighters will be left as they wind up operations. Our George Cahiles has that story.
Kilometers away from the main battle area, continuous gunfire and bomb explosion filled the air Friday morning, indicating an intense firefight between government troops and ISIS-inspired Mata group. Authorities say the battle is confined within a 3-hectare area near the lake.
And as they are now confined to a smaller space, we anticipated more intense fighting. Kasi nga po, mas concentrated na yung mga Maute in certain places so they can give us a strong resistance.
The military earlier said it is confident it will meet its October 15 deadline to end the war. But now, the armed forces clarifies they do not have any deadline, just a self-imposed target to finish the fight.
We don't want to call it a deadline. No? Hindi po natin siniset na deadline yon because it brings undue pressure on the troops. So, meron po tayong targets, no? Targets na pilit inaabot.
Once the war is over, a second wave of clearing operations will be carried out. Authorities will once again scour buildings, tunnels, and other underground structures. This is an example of a drainage system inside the main battle area. The military says these could be used as passageways for stragglers who may escape or create more terror after the war.
Our position is i-clear ang MBA not only of the ordinances but combatants, fighters from the Maute side, leaders and their foot soldiers.
The military says the ongoing war has taught them so many lessons, things that they need to improve on next time, especially in urban warfare, their shortfall in this ongoing siege. From Marawi City, George Cahiles, CNN Philippines.
Communications Secretary Martin Andanar visits Marawi in the wake of rising expectations that the crisis is about to end. Andanar says the administration is preparing for the eventual liberation of Marawi. The military says the fighting that has stretched to over nearly 5 months may end soon. Andanar is setting up government's messaging mechanism once the war ends. He will highlight the Maranao's resiliency. He visited an evacuation center in Iligan before going to Marawi, where he met with military and local officials.
We are very hopeful, based on the report of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, na ito ay malapit na matapos. So we are readying ourselves in the eventuality na mangyari ito para mabilis yung aming pag-aksyon.
Andanar's office is also setting up the local operation of Salam TV and Radio, a state-run media hub which aims to give a voice to Filipino Muslims. A former head of state has issued a warning to the ASEAN about China's offers of friendship and funding. Former Malaysian Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad says China has become an economic giant in the region. He fears it will try to buy smaller countries. Mohamad uses the example of Africa, where China has poured in billions of dollars in loans for their infrastructure projects. And now China has put up various military bases across Africa. Mohamad urges the ASEAN to be wary of these economic links, since it seems to be China's new way of conquering territories without having to wage war.
Now we have a rich China investing in many countries, lending huge sums of money, and in the end, the borrowers find themselves unable to resist the Chinese practically invasion.
This one's for overseas Filipinos. What the government says will be the bank to meet your needs will open in January next year. That's according to Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello. The announcement comes after President Duterte issued an executive order forming the Overseas Filipino Bank, or OFB. Bello says a new OFW ID can be used for transactions in the bank. Latest data from the Commission on Filipinos Overseas show there are over 10 million Filipinos worldwide. Most of them are working or living in the U.S., Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates.
This day is usually associated with bad luck and superstition, but netizens are taking to social media to spread good vibes this Friday the 13th. On Twitter, Narisa Opiniano says she doesn't believe Friday the 13th is bad luck. At This Is Larry Nay echoes her sentiment, saying, quote, I don't believe Friday the 13th will always bring bad luck. See, I just got $100 tip from my guest, unquote. Another netizen, meanwhile, announces it's her birthday and adds the hashtag Friday the 13th. Well, happiest birthday to you at AdmireKey. This Twitter user advises, quote, don't let the superstition associated with Friday the 13th scare your life today, unquote. Netizens are also reacting to the latest Pulse Asia survey. It shows President Rodrigo Duterte maintained his approval and trust ratings. Twitter user Jedic Doblon says, quote, I prefer to trust Pulse Asia and Forbes when it comes to surveys than that of SWS. Truly, the latter is biased and I think controlled by someone, unquote. The SWS earlier released a survey showing significant drop in Mr. Duterte's satisfaction and trust ratings. Meanwhile, at Lester Riffic questions both. He says, quote, since Pulse Asia and SWS came out with different results, can we conduct a survey with regards to their trust rating, unquote. Another Twitter user also asks which of the survey firms is more credible.
Ikaw ang pangulo para sa pagbabago. Sawa na ang bayan ko sa magnanakaw na tao.